What's good, everybody? What's up, man? This is Stephen Qualls II, aka Mr. Qualified. It's your boy, and we're back for another episode of the Wright Quallity, man. I have my lovely co-host with me.
Ashley Wright first.
Indeed, you know what I'm saying? And we are about to get to it. There's a lot going on in sports this week. Actually, the All-Star game is coming up this weekend, obviously, so we have to talk about that. I don't know. Players are making comments per usual. Got to realize or try to figure out what those mean. If they're cryptic, if they're shading people, whatnot. We gonna get into that. The logo. There's been talks for years about it potentially changing, but it most recently has come up again with Kobe. So we'll hop into that as well, and then people are telling LeBron to just talk about sports again. And we don't know why. So we're going to get into that as well. But we're going to start with the All-Stars. And first, I think we should just acknowledge the first-time All-Stars. There's four, if I'm not mistaken. Zion, Jaylen Brown, sorry for y'all that don't know them on first name. Zach LaVine, and Julius Randle. What do you think of the first-time All-Stars? Do you feel like Well, yeah. Do you feel like any of them? I think I know your answer, but do you feel like any of them? This should not be their first All Star selection. But yeah, just talk about the seasons some of them are having.
I think all of them are very much beyond deserving actually. Just one discrepancy I keep hearing about is that Zion is an all-star.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you ask people like, okay, well, who should have replaced him? People say Devin Booker. Devin Booker got in because of injury, but Booker and Zion are two different positions. You vote for the front court, you vote for the back court, so that's not a viable replacement. If you think about anybody else that can actually replace Zion in that spot, no one can really come up with an answer. So why doesn't Zion deserve to be there?
I, if we just look at his numbers, I don't understand. I'm confused as to why people think Zion shouldn't be an All Star. I guess maybe because New Orleans isn't making a lot of noise, like, and they're not in the playoff picture. But I mean, the man's averaging 30. Pretty sure I saw that. The man's averaging 30. Or close to it. And he had been playing out of this world. I think he went on an 8-game stretch where his stats were just ridiculous. But I agree with that. I think that a lot of times people just expect or want to see certain names or just have their, personal favorites. And if they haven't been keeping up with a player or don't know their stats, they just assume they got thrown in there for whatever reason, especially in a case like Zion with him being Zion. But I agree. I don't think Booker should have necessarily made it over him. I would say I think Booker should have made it, but I think we talked about it. Booker missed time, so I wasn't sure, how that was going to play into. And also, Booker has kind of not in a drastic way, but Booker this season hasn't been the Booker we saw last season, or the Booker we saw in the bubble at least. So
Yes.
not this drastic drop off in productivity necessarily, but just not the same. That might be different because the team is different, but whoever.
Yeah, I agree with that point, and I think what a lot of people aren't giving credit to Chris Paul and what he's also been able to do on the Suns team. Not taking away credit from Booker, but like you said, he's been out a little bit, and Chris Paul has kind of had to put that team on his back. So
for sure, yeah. And Chris Paul is obviously probably one of the highest used players, in the league in terms of whatever team he's on. So I think naturally the ball's not going to be in Booker's hand as much. But I would imagine he's still going to get his amount of shots per game because he's playing with somebody like Chris Paul. So I think it's just one of them things where he should be in there, but I think there was nobody that made it that you could say he necessarily should have made it over. So it was one of them situations. Love that Julius Randle got the nod. He's been having a hell of a season. Has New York in playoff contention. Really, I wouldn't say single-handedly, obviously, but he is the firepower of that team. Really,
he's really emerged as their leader.
yeah.
With the Knicks, you think of Julius Randle, which I never thought I'd be able to say, but kudos to Julius Randle.
Yeah, no, most definitely. LaVine, well deserving. We talked about that. we say he should be a reserve. So definitely glad he got that nod. We mentioned that Jalen potentially could be. I wouldn't have been surprised. I'm not surprised to see him here. I think I'm more surprised to see Tatum, but obviously that's because Tatum just missed so much time. So I didn't know how much that was going to take into account. Also, I mean, Boston just, side note, first and foremost, let's acknowledge that oddly enough, I think 4 through 8 in the East are like separated by a game right now. So literally every game, all their seeding changes. Like Boston was out the playoff picture before Friday. And I think because they won, or maybe somebody else lost, I don't know. But like them 4 or 5 teams just keep switching, so that should be interesting if that stays in that same realm. But yeah, they started off strong and then dipped. I mean, there was a point where I think they might have been third, the highest, like third in the East at one point in the season. So, but them taking that dip is will be interesting to see because I guess it'll depend on when they fall. But I mean, in general, Boston just needs a little bit more, I think, to be scary in the postseason or a true contender, given the contenders in the conference. But that's neither here nor there. We're not talking about Boston right now. But for the starters, there's a record of 5 international players that were voted as starters. Now, obviously, well, before I say that, the previous record was 4, which was set last year, which would have been tied this year if Lillard was voted over Doncic. But since he was not, the record is 5. I mean, we've long known that the league has obviously had a large influence, internationally, and we've started to see that with players coming to the league. So, what do you think about this record of 5 international players actually starting in the All-Star game?
Honestly, all 5 international players are deserving. I know I keep using that word, but it's true. I mean, Jokic is killing. Doncic, you could have gone either way with Doncic or Lillard. They're both averaging 29 points per game. Doncic is 1 game away. Well, he was 1 game away Wednesday night from the 8th seed. I'm not sure what their current seed is now. And so, those big names. And then it's just they've been performing well, and you can't take that away from them. So with them being in those starting positions, it's not much of an argument.
Yeah, I mean, Embiid, Giannis. I mean, these are givens. So this is not. I don't think anybody's made this argument, but this is not like some push by the league, to push international players and stuff like that. These are players that are in these conversations that are at the top of the league. Giannis is a top 10 player. Embiid, I mean, I don't know who wouldn't have him as a top 10 player, but he's definitely one. Jokic may not be a top 10, but I mean, Jokic is a top 3 big in the league, period. So,
all players have been in the MVP conversation at some point throughout their career.
So no, most definitely. I think that's big. We talked about it before, but Booker replaces Anthony Davis. And I guess I was surprised he got voted, obviously not by talent, but because he's out through that time anyway. So what was the point of even wasting the vote on him originally? I don't think anybody cares. But Booker replaces him. Didn't realize this KD injury seemed to be so, maybe it's not super serious. Maybe they're just being cautious, but didn't realize he would miss as much time as he's missed. So he'll be out through the All-Star break, which means that Sabonis will technically replace him in general, but Sabonis will be a reserve. Tatum will be the starter. I seems fitting. I don't know if there's another choice or how they selected that. I believe this makes Giannis team captain if they're going to go by votes.
Right. See, that's what I don't know if KD still gets to draft or.
Yeah, I would imagine it doesn't really make sense for him to draft if he's not going to play.
Technically taking his spot. Well, Tatum took his spot and Sabonis took Tatum, so.
It would have to be Giannis. I would imagine, especially for the starters, I would imagine it would be the votes. And that would make Giannis and LeBron captains again. And Lord, I can't wait to see these teams because I don't know what Giannis be on, man. I really don't. These teams are always lopsided. I just don't really understand what his thought process is. Maybe he just really doesn't like other talented players. I don't know. But But yeah, I mean, so but we talked about Sabonis. Sabonis, I mean, makes sense. Like obviously, I think if somebody was going to go out, Sabonis is one of those people. I think him or Middleton, honestly, probably should have been the next option for East reserve. I mean, Booker, we all talked about. I think you could have went a few options out west too if you wanted to, but Booker was the clear, option for that. So yeah, but all in all, what do we think of the reserves overall for each conference?
Yeah, overall they got it right. Even though it took a little bit of injury for them to get it right, just right now. I like the rosters or whatever you want to call it. I
Yeah.
think it's very well.
Yes, I mean for the West, you get Booker replacing AD. You got Paul George, Gobert, Lillard, Mitchell. So both of them made it. Wasn't expecting that. Both of them made it, and both well deserving as well. Um, Chris Paul and Zion in the West, and then in the East, you got Jaylen Brown, Harden, Levine, Randall, Simmons, Tatum, and Vucevic.
Yeah.
Well deserving as well. I really feel like Vucevic is wasting his career in Orlando. I'm really sorry to say that.
I feel like, even though he was voted in, a lot of people still he slept on a
Very
great
much so.
he slept on a great deal.
If he was on a contender, or like if he was on a team that was actually like, yeah, if he was on a team that was like legitimately contending for a championship, there would be a completely different conversation about him. Granted, that may also depend on what role he has, but I mean, he's one of the most skilled bigs in the league. I
Right.
just don't think people talk about him or recognize that talent. But yeah, but no, All-Star game should be cool, I guess. Should be fun, whatever it turns out to be. I don't know. I mean, whatever it turns out to be, it should be fun. But yeah, Sunday, March 7th. I guess y'all will all tune into that and see what we get from there. Moving on to the next topic. So this past week, our good intellectual, optimal wellness, Kyrie. No, but he posted a picture of Kobe as the logo. He said, "Gotta happen. I don't care what anyone says. Black Kings built the league." Now, there's a lot to unpack with this entire thing because so he posts this picture and he gets support, and I think Vanessa Bryant specifically also supported this happening or wanted to make this happen. Um, you can either start with the fact that Jerry West doesn't want to be the logo, nor does he get any royalties off of being the logo, nor did he, did they get his permission for him to be the logo? So that's one aspect of it. Two, we can really get into the fact that the league was really built by Black kings, and we're going to be completely honest, especially considering uh, the global effect, like who's responsible for that? It's not the white man. I'm sorry. And we could also go the route of why people would be adamantly against Kobe of all Black players being against the logo. So where do you want to start? Now, we can go a couple different ways. Where do you want to start with this?
Let's start with the Black Kings.
Okay.
So if I give you like a name of a Black figure from each decade of the NBA, even pre-NBA, you can't give me a white name that suffices to that Black name. So if I say Bill Russell, if I say Wilt Chamberlain, if I say
Only
Drew,
one decade. There's only one decade. There's only one decade you can do that in, and it's the '80s. It's the '80s because you could say Magic and Larry. That's the only decade though. That's
I,
the only decade.
but if I say Kareem, then what?
Oh no.
Right.
No.
So, and then like you said, the global aspect. If I go to China and say Tracy McGrady, they love him. If I go to China and say Kobe, they love Kobe. If you say all these other names outside of Yao Ming, they're Black men. So I like that statement is very very much true. Black kings built the NBA.
Yes. I obviously wholeheartedly agree. I mean the facts are there. It's there's proof. But I think I don't know if I don't know what the league's stance on that is, what their real stance is. I think obviously the league is aware, and it would be hard for them to try to make a statement saying that is false. But I also don't think they would actually take the step to make that change and honor that fact in this manner, unfortunately. Because I mean, given the fact that West doesn't even want to be the logo, I think you could have easily made a case to make that change a while ago. And you can, they'll probably make the argument that is, it's not worth it or it's too much to do the whole rebranding of the league. I mean, it's not really that difficult.
And I think if any commissioner is receptive to their league changing the logo, it would be Adam Silver, especially with the type of love we've seen around Kobe and his family since his tragic passing. It makes sense to make that move. It just does. Like you said, the current logo doesn't even want to be the current logo. I don't know. Like, come on now.
Yeah, I don't know what else you want.
Like Kobe's wife is okay with it. It's nothing stopping you from being able to make the change. Like,
yeah, and I think so. I honestly feel like if it wasn't for the elephant in the room, then this probably would have been done.
What is the elephant?
The elephant in the room for a lot of people is obviously, his the allegations and his scandal from 03, 04, that time frame. Which is, it's a slippery slope and it's extremely tough because one, you are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. It's what it is. And I don't think anybody's going to ignore the evidence that was presented to us. I don't think anybody's just being blind to things or not holding people accountable. But I do think that if you are sitting there saying, right, that, oh, let's not forget, about this time and the example that may set, or what that may represent if we make him the logo and him essentially being the brand, a part of the brand of the NBA, even more so than he already is naturally. It is not that I don't understand it, one, from a journalistic standpoint, for somebody to write that, and it's not that I don't understand it from a league standpoint in terms of branding, not popularity, but just basically kind of like, CYA for the league, I guess, because that could have some backlash. It could.
I mean, I feel like the decision that they make will have backlash. You're not going to make people 100% happy.
I agree. I agree, and I guess I just feel like if we're sitting, if we're having this conversation, and the only thing that's stopping you from basically saying this man should be the logo is that after we've seen the steps that was taken after the fact, to I think honestly become more aware. And genuinely we saw like the father, that he became, and we saw the role model he became for other women in sports. Again, there is nobody that is going to, and especially not myself speaking personally, there's nobody that's going to negate what we know and negate the situation that we all know he was involved in. Right. But I genuinely don't know if that's strong enough to just sit here and be like, well, yeah, it's never going to happen, when there are so many other things that have happened in the league by white men and other white athletes, things that have either been said or been done, and these men still hold, higher positions or more important positions than the damn logo. Mm-hmm. So what?
Make it make sense.
How long was Donald Sterling going to be an owner? If that audio doesn't come out, how long did it take? For him not to be the owner once the audio came out.
Exactly. Still has the option to sell his team.
Like the power of it all, the privilege of it all. It's just it's ridiculous. So I think, and that's the tough part about it, because in all honesty, Jerry West said it best. Like, you could easily Kareem, Mike, Bron, or Kobe, either four of them could easily be the logo. But if you want to sit here and tell me though that the logo shouldn't be Kobe solely because of this, I can't 100% get on board with that. I respect it. I understand the perspective, but I feel like it's a lot, and I feel like it's unfair to a degree, given everything else. If you are going to consider everything, why does it seem like we're just focusing on that? I
Yeah.
get you so much.
No, I feel the same way. Like you said, for what he's done, in women's sports, being the face of brands such as Nike, all since, those allegations, like you said, if that's the sole purpose of not putting him as the logo, I understand where you're coming from. It's just not strong enough for me.
That's really it. And the biggest thing on top of that is that I know that this would not be the same logic you'd apply if we're talking about another white athlete that had, a scandal or something troubling, in their career, in their past. I mean, we've seen it, So I mean, let's look at Brady, for example. People completely forget about Deflategate. Like, people completely forget that this happened.
Ben Roethlisberger, he's had allegations such as,
we, we forget these things. I mean, who was the NFL player just recently this year that assaulted his girlfriend, and we barely heard about it. Barely caught this news. So it's stuff like that that's like, this is, since he's such a prominent player, we have had the ability to, for everything that he does to be under a scope, essentially. So yes, the bad, but also the amounts of good that some may argue not necessarily outweighs the bad, but should speak to his growth from the situation, and should speak to the change that I feel like he intentionally wanted to make, as a man, as a husband, as a father. So I just, you gotta look at that holistically as well. Don't say let's look at everything and then focus on that part and then not look at that part holistically either. Like, it's trash. It's trash. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think the league changed the logo anytime soon. When they do change it, I do not think it will be Kobe. Honestly, more than likely, it'll probably be Bron if they ever do change it. But yeah, I just don't think that should be the direction that the conversation goes when we're talking about if Kobe could be the logo or should be the logo. Mm-hmm. Any parting words on that? I feel like we kind of got it all out. But
yeah, I do too.
Okay, moving on. Something not as dark. But no. So Brandon Ingram, he's somebody we brought up multiple times on the show. He's been having a breakout year. He's really broke out since being traded to New Orleans. But he made a comment on Zion Williamson. I've never played with a player as talented as me.
Ooh, Lord.
He's a generational talent. Now, Mr. Ingram, you have played with LeBron James. So here's, I'll just get right to this. What he's trying to say, I don't necessarily disagree with, because I don't think what the quote is saying is what he may have been trying to say. Maybe he was, I don't know. But I feel like he was really just more so trying to speak to Zion, like to Zion's greatness, if you will. I don't think it was an intentional slight, but it's kind of hard if this is really how he worded it. I also would not be surprised if this is just what he said flat out and what he truly believes. But then at that point, there just needs to be a different conversation, and we need to have a heart to heart, because it's great, as you have been, Mr. Ingram. There are a lot of players that are as talented as you.
You ain't saying nothing you said with a straight face.
Okay. So, what are your thoughts? This can go a lot of ways. I feel like there's not like a lot to unpack here, but I feel like this is a conversation that has a couple of layers to it, given the players that are involved directly and indirectly, and then also the situation that these two players are currently
in. I think he meant this exactly the way he said it.
You very well could.
The confidence, love it. Are you better than LeBron James? No. Best in us all.
Honestly, truly. And I mean, I had so the funny thing was like when I first sent the quote, I didn't really realize that's what he said. I had to reread the quote a couple times and I was like, oh, as talented as me. So you were putting yourself on this pedestal, if you will. And here's the thing. Is Ingram even a top 10 player in the league? He's not. Here's the thing. He's not. He's not a top 10 player in the league. As great, nobody, we have never talked bad about this man. We love his game. I love what he's doing in New Orleans. He's not a top 10 player. And LeBron's top 3, easily. 1 to a lot of people. So it's just like it's like where do you get off saying this, basically?
Yeah. I don't know, bro. Like,
So do you think this was an intentional dig at Bron, or do you think it's just like he made his statement and he may not have been thinking directly about Bron in the moment, but it was for whoever it was for?
that's what I think. I think it's the latter. I don't think that, he's digging at Bron. What point does that make, digging at Bron? I think
Really?
he was just, like you said, making a general statement, confident, whatever. He could not have made that statement with Bron in mind. I refuse to think that Brandon Ingram made that statement thinking, I played with LeBron James in LA. Couldn't have. Couldn't have. I refuse to believe that. And if Brandon Ingram sees this and tries to correct me and say, I was thinking about Bron, save it. Please don't come out and say that. Don't. I'm helping you out.
Yeah, he really shouldn't. Oh, I mean, here's the thing, okay? It's I don't like it. I love confidence, right? It's one thing for you to feel like for you to not fear anybody. There's one thing for you to feel like you can hang with anybody, especially on the court. Like I get that wholeheartedly, but like I've never played as talent. I've never played with anyone as talented as me. You borderline heading toward Kyrie status of Kyrie saying I never had, somebody basically I trusted in the clutch. And Kyrie had a little bit more stake in his argument for a lot of different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But both were still
Like, what?
yeah, both were still reaches in the sense of like, do you realize who you're talking about? Like it's just one of the things where like, what all can you all as players like? Media analysts will say what they say because it's their job. OGs will say what they say and have their opinion. You respect it because they played, they played this game, they've done their time in the league, etc. Players that are younger and still in the league today should not be mentioning LeBron James' name. They shouldn't be saying anything about that man whatsoever. Shouldn't be mentioning his name. You don't have any jurisdiction. Okay, I had none whatsoever. Even you, Mr. Irvin, you don't have jurisdiction to say things like that and get it off when 4-1.
Mm-hmm.
4-1. Just consider that. But all in all, I mean, this won't be a conversation after this week. But interesting, BR. Very, very interesting, man. Man, okay, so staying on topic of Bron, actually. So like, what was this? A couple years ago, maybe 2019, 2018. There was lady, a reporter, I believe, that suggested or encouraged rather that LeBron James, Kevin Durant, athletes of the sort and the like, should how did she put it? Shut up and dribble. She said. And LeBron has faced. I was almost through it. You can't laugh. Okay. LeBron. Okay, I'm all right. I can't do it no more. No, LeBron, but LeBron has faced he's faced it a lot. I think more than any other athlete in the sense of having multiple figures outside of sports tell him that he should stick to sports or not have an opinion outside of sports and things of that nature. And somebody else got added to that list. I don't want to mess up this man's name. If I do mispronounce it, I apologize. Zlate, Zlatan, maybe. Maybe the Z isn't there. Maybe the L is. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. Ibrahimovic, I think. Ibrahimovic. I hope. The transcript is completely getting this wrong. The point is, he is a soccer player, and he basically said LeBron James is phenomenal at what he's doing. But I don't like it when people with some kind of status and they do politics at the same time as what they're doing. I mean, do what you're good at. So in short, shut up and play basketball, basically. To which, let me not forget that, LeBron, his response when actually responding to it, part of it was, there's no way I would ever just stick to sports because I understand this platform and how powerful my voice is. Bron also in the same interview said, I'm not really the guy to come at because I do my homework. I felt that. Move, don't try me. But no, in all seriousness, LeBron has shown himself to be educated. LeBron has shown himself to not speak on issues without understanding their complexity and understanding them in their entirety. Why are so many people upset by LeBron having these opinions that aren't, well, we know why they're upset, but why, why get upset at somebody who's not being ignorant? They're not naive to these topics. They're literally just using their platform, and that's what it is. I feel the fact that LeBron has the platform in the reach that he does, and he uses it to speak about these things is scary because they know how many people he's reaching with giving information about voter suppression, with doing things like the I Promise School, with educating communities and others just on what's going on, in the Black community and saying that to the world and holding people accountable. I'm getting tired of this. I mean, just the act of not even the act, this whole thing of people just trying to dictate what other people can say, and specifically Black people, and specifically Black athletes, and specifically Black athletes who know what they are talking about and are educated on these matters. Like, what more we got to do, to realize that we are a part of the conversation, and we can be because we know what's going on. We're not oblivious. We're not just talking about it because we have a platform. Like that's a hard, not harsh. That's a huge and large. That combine them two words. My bad. That's a huge part of it. But these things affect us. These things affect their communities as athletes. So why would you not expect them the same way? Like if you're a foreign athlete or player and things are affecting your neighborhood or your communities back home in your foreign land, you're going to speak on those here. You're not going to be quiet about it just because you're not there. So I just don't get it. I don't really understand.
You literally touched on every single point. Like I agree wholeheartedly, right? Ins Cancer came here and criticized Turkey. Nobody told him shut up and dribble. And
it
just
go home. Like Enes Kanter can't go home.
No.
And that's like a well-documented story.
Yes. I think, that the country's government got in touch with his father, all that stuff. So it's like, okay, people like him that bring awareness and shed light to the injustices that are going on in their country don't get the backlash. And I love what Ends Cancer is doing. I don't care what race, creed, religion, whatever you are. If you have your platform, use it because you're helping people that don't necessarily have the same voice that you have, that are maybe scared to step up and say something about it, that maybe need the guidance or the light and look to you to give that to them. Like you said, LeBron is empowering people. He's giving people the tools. LeBron can send out one tweet about Black Lives Matter and educate millions of people. And like you said, that's what they're scared of. LeBron should never shut up and dribble. And I love what he said. I don't talk without doing my homework. So don't come for me. It's perfect. And it's like, first of all, this soccer player, I don't want to say anything that's like going to get myself in trouble, but you're not from here. You're not black. You don't know the effects that what's going on has on black people. The death of George Floyd. Recently, the death of Trayvon Martin came up. The his birthday, I think, was in February. That's why, Trayvon Martin was talked about a lot or whatever. And it's like, it's very disheartening. It's very disheartening because not only is he being attacked by, these reporters who also are white and don't know what's going on, but he's attacked by his peers. Why?
It it will always confuse me as to why people think in 2021, like in this day and age, that politics and sports are separate. It will confuse me. It confuses me because just how naive are you to think that the two aren't intertwined? Like this. Like not only are there legitimately politics in the sport realm solely, like if you were just looking at sports, there's already the idea of politics within sport itself. But there is such a direct connection between sports, entertainment, just entertainment media and politics. One is just about people becoming educated. Like more people are becoming educated on things in the political realm because we all need to be. And that's another thing, especially what happened with the last election. The black community, and with the large help from some large prominent figures in the sports world, became more educated. And also, let's not disregard the fact that due to 45 and due to the fact that there was much needed change in that we needed to be educated to understand, what we were getting ourselves into. Like having more people registered to vote than ever before, like in the black community, is that's all a reflection of the times. Like nobody has forgotten just how long 2020 was, pandemic aside. Like for black people, 2020 was long as hell, and it's just like to think that to still think that these things are separated, still
Mhm.
think that because a black man plays a sport that all of a sudden, his life isn't affected by you go ahead.
Yeah, like one of the most popular photos is of black men holding up their fist, winning medals at the Olympics in Nazi Germany. So that tells you how long sports has been a part of politics. Oh, but now you want to say shut up and dribble, like you said, because his reach is far beyond anyone else's reach in recent history as far as sports figures go. It's a shame. Like, I don't understand. Why are you talking about something that doesn't have anything to do with your melanin content? Like, it's annoying to me. It really is. Like, these people have so much to say about what he's doing because he's positively impacting other people around him. It's ridiculous.
Very, very much so. And when if we look at the people who have attacked, Bron in this manner, like you said, when you have peers saying things, he's had the president, well, former president, say things. He's had other political figures, other reporters, and it's just one of them things where what did he say or do that personally affected you or offended you to a degree or in a manner where you felt it necessary to publicly give your opinion that was not asked for on a man who don't know you. You probably have never had an interaction with him. Um, like who's asking these questions? Like let's matter of fact, let's just have that be the moment of clarity. Why? Why are people? Why
Yes,
are people even asking these questions
yes.
to get these responses? Like, what is the conversation that's making somebody be like, yeah, I think LeBron should just, focus on playing basketball. Like, what question are you answering? So where that's your answer.
Thank you. Thank you. That is my moment of clarity. Please answer that question for me. Please.
Like, make it make sense, because we get these quotes and I'm trying to sneak. Because the one lady reporter, I'm sorry, I can't recall her name. I apologize. But that was, so she, I guess, took from a piece of the LeBron and Kevin Durant conversation with Kerry Champion, and that's where she gave her unsolicited opinion. Trump was just trolling anybody, and this player, yeah, I'm not even sure what interview this was or what provoked this. Like, where's the context? Like, what? Like, why was he asked? What was the point? Is there some type of association or relation there?
There are some previous quotes where he was just saying some off the wall things. I know he played in the MLS, and obviously he's a European player. So while playing in the MLS, he's like, I'm a Ferrari amongst Fiats, like just downing the talent of American soccer players. He's been on record saying some stuff, like some weird stuff.
Here, the thing, the thing almost everybody else but black people get away with saying is ridiculous. Because if a black player made a comment like that, matter of fact, I ain't gonna even say a black player, this happened. Isaiah Thomas. Like, these things have happened. And what Isaiah said wasn't bad, but it's because he said it about Larry. So if a black if any black athlete said, I'm a Ferrari among Fiats, one, it will more than likely be very accurate, depending on the context. Two, he or she would be crucified. They would be crucified.
Imagine that coming from Serena.
And that would be factual.
Imagine Serena saying that after beating Maria Sharapova for the 50 millionth time. She would never step foot on the tennis court again. Like,
they'd want her in the jail. They would want her locked away immediately. But man, it sucks that we acknowledge how big of a business sports is, but we don't acknowledge that because of that big business, their platform forces them. Y'all, in all essence, what y'all get mad about athletes having an opinion on, y'all have forced them to have to be aware on these things. Not saying they shouldn't have been anyway, but y'all have made to where they have to be, because now that is the arena they're in. That's the platform they have. That's the reach that you all have kind of given them in a backwards way, if you think about it. So to be upset that because they're asked to speak on things, because they get asked these questions, so they do educate themselves, you mad when they say something that don't agree with what you think? And you don't agree with it, and it ain't even got nothing to do with you. It's not even your jurisdiction to have an opinion on.
That's my entire, thank you.
It
has nothing to do with you.
Nothing. So yeah. All in all, just wrapping that up. I mean, the fact that he's been targeted this much, and the fact that black players and black athletes in general are targeted specifically, but LeBron, because of his reach and his specific platform, just seems to continue to be targeted and continue to be told what to do. And you start seeing it in a similar light of, and I don't want to force this connection or reach too far, but when you start thinking of how they wanted to silence certain social activists and certain other, black political figures that had the same reach, that had the same platform, it's you start to kind of see LeBron specifically, because he's been the target. You start to see him in line with those people, and while it's very admirable to see LeBron respond the way he does, because he always does it with grace, always does it respectfully as well. you start to get frustrated for him at some point because he can't really respond with the innate anger that we all know he's probably feeling and that we feel from somebody trying to have an opinion. One, trying to have an opinion, like we said, on something that doesn't concern them. And then secondly, on top of that, try to police our opinion on what's affecting us. Make it make sense. Just make it make sense.
There's no way to do that. There's no way to make it make sense.
Mama always told me, you can't make sense of something that don't make sense. Wisest words I ever heard.
Yes. Yes.
Wisest words I ever heard, man. Wisest words I ever heard. Okay, we gonna give y'all a let me find it. We gonna give y'all a little thing. We find a little thing for the people. It's something in here. It's a good one in here. They always send some. Which one haven't we done? Sorry, this part cut out. Did that one. Oh yes. One gotta go. Shooting guard edition. Okay. Jason Tatum. Paul George. Jimmy Buckets. Batman Brad. Who has to go?
See you, Paul. Jimmy carried the Heat through 6 finals games. Honestly, a lot of people probably didn't even see the Heat get into 6 games, but we all know that it's safe to give Jimmy credit for that.
Oh, wholeheartedly, most definitely.
I take Brad Beal and put him on a contending team. That team has a ring. He's averaging 30 points per game.
Okay. So you just brought up a very, very, very good point that's probably going to change my mind. Okay. Because I was originally going to say Beal. And here's the only reason I was going to say Beal. I think Beal is the lesser of the 4 in terms of two-way players. I think if you're going to rank each 4 in two-way players, Beal is 4, which is why. But the point you just made, if Beal was on a contender, I think that contender performs better than any of the contending teams that Paul George has been on.
Thank you.
So because of that, because I wholeheartedly agree with that, I would say Paul George too, given that context, because if we're going to take talents, I think the talent level is relatively equal. I don't think it's really far off for any of them. But I think all 3, everyone except for Paul George. Well, we haven't been able to see it on Beal, but Tatum's obviously been on a contender. Jimmy obviously been on a contender. If Beal had been on a contending team, this probably would have been easy from jump, at least, for me or for other people. Because I've heard other people say Beal as well. And I guess maybe they don't put it in the context of what we did. But given that, I probably had to say PG2. I would have to say PG2. Because I think Beal honestly probably gives you more offense. Not gonna lie. Slightly, but he gives you more offense. And Bill's a solid defender. I just think when you gotta average 35, you don't really got a lot of energy, to play defense. Really lock in on that side of the ball,
Yep, I agree. And Jason Tatum, we've seen him knock down some pretty clutch shots. We've seen his performance his rookie season in the playoffs. Talent like that doesn't just dissolve over, the course of 4 seasons. You just get better and better at his age, at least. So,
agreed. But man, no, that's it. That's all we got for y'all this week, man. Man, I'm gonna say it on the live. I really enjoyed this episode. I feel like we got into the nitty-gritty about a lot. We talked our stuff, did what we had to do, and I hope y'all enjoyed just as much as we enjoyed recording it. Any parting words for the fans?
No. Per usual, if you have anything you want us to speak about, please comment on our YouTube, Twitter, Instagram at TWQ Podcast.
Indeed. And until the next time y'all see us on our screens, man. Peace.